$14 billion. That's not what Americans bet on sports last year. That's what they lost. Actually lost, as in gone, transferred permanently from your bank account to a corporation's balance sheet. The total amount wagered was somewhere north of $120 billion, which sounds like a wash, money moving in circles between millions of bettors. It isn't. Circles don't produce $14 billion of pure profit for the house. Straight lines do. And the reason sportsbooks can guarantee themselves a straight line to profit, no matter who wins the Super Bowl, is a piece of math so simple you were probably taught the concept in middle school and never noticed it was staring you in the face every time you opened a betting app. Here's the thesis, stated plainly, because everything else in this video is just proof of it. A sportsbook does not need to know who is going to win a game. It does not employ psychics. It does not need better information than you. It only needs the two sides of every bet to be balanced against each other with a built-in fee baked into both sides. That fee is called the vig, or the juice, and it is the entire business model. Everything else, the flashy apps, the free bet promos, the celebrity ads during football pregame shows, exists to get more people making more bets so that fee compounds faster. Let's build the math from scratch, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it in every odds screen you'll ever look at again. Picture a coin flip, a true 50-50 coin flip. If a sportsbook offered you even money on a coin flip, bet $100, win $100, that would be a fair bet. Nobody has an edge. Over enough flips, the book breaks even and you break even. That is not how sportsbooks price a coin flip. Instead, they'll offer you something like minus 110 on each side. That means you have to bet $110 to win $100. Both sides, heads and tails. Everybody who wants to bet on this coin, no matter which way, is paying a toll to walk through the door. Now watch what happens when the money is balanced. Say 11 bettors take heads, each betting $110, that's $1,210 in. And 11 different bettors take tails. Same amount, same $1,210 in. Total money in the pool, $2,420. The coin flips, say heads wins. The sportsbook now owes the 11 heads bettors $100 of profit each, plus their original $110 back, so $210 each, times 11, equals $2,310 paid out. The book collected $2,420 and paid out $2,310. Profit, $110, guaranteed. It does not matter if heads wins or tails wins, run the math the other way and you get the exact same $110 of guaranteed profit. The coin's actual outcome is irrelevant to the sportsbook's bottom line. The only thing that matters is whether the money on each side is roughly balanced. That $110 on $2,420 of total action works out to about 4.5%. That's the house's built-in cut on a perfectly balanced 50-50 market. Real games aren't coin flips, and real betting markets are never perfectly balanced, which is exactly why sportsbooks employ small armies of traders whose entire job is to move the odds in real time, shifting the price up or down, team by team, minute by minute, specifically to pull money toward whichever side is underweighted. If too much money piles onto the favorite, they'll shorten the underdog's price to lure bettors over, or lengthen the favorite's price to make it less attractive. This isn't about predicting the Chiefs versus the Bills. It's about herding cash into balance so the 4 to 5% toll applies no matter what the scoreboard says at the end of the night. But here's where it gets a lot more interesting than a coin flip, because a straight coin flip is the worst case scenario for a sportsbook, the lowest margin they'll ever accept. The real $14 billion doesn't come from simple sides bets on point spreads. It comes from products engineered to carry a much heavier invisible toll, sold to you as if they were more exciting, not more expensive. Take the parlay. A parlay lets you combine multiple bets into one ticket for a bigger payout, pick 4 teams to all cover the spread, and instead of 4 separate small wins, you get one big one. Sounds like leverage, feels like leverage. Mathematically, it's the house's favorite product, and the reason is multiplication. If each individual leg of your parlay carries, say, a 5% house edge, stacking 4 legs together doesn't just add up that edge, it compounds it, because you now need all 4 things to happen, and the payout offered rarely reflects the true combined odds. A sportsbook might offer you 6-to-1 on a 4-leg parlay where the true fair odds, if you multiplied out the actual probabilities, are closer to 8-to-1 or higher. That gap between 6 and 8 is pure house margin, and on parlays that margin routinely runs into the double digits, sometimes 20% or more, compared to 4 or 5% on a single straight bet. Sportsbooks have publicly stated in earnings calls to investors that same-game parlays and multi-leg parlays are their highest margin, fastest-growing product line. That's not a rumor. That's a company telling shareholders where the real money is. And this is where the curiosity gap opens up, because you'd think a bettor who understands the math would just avoid parlays. Most people know parlays are harder to win. What they don't know is by how much the odds are skewed against them, and sportsbooks are not exactly rushing to put that number on the betting slip. Then there's the free bet, the boost, the deposit match, the promotional layer that makes this whole industry look generous. A new user signs up and gets a bet $100, get $100 free offer. Feels like the house is handing you money. It is, technically, but with strings that flip the math back in the house's favor almost immediately. Free bet credits typically only pay out your winnings, not your original stake, so a $100 free bet at even odds nets you roughly $50 of real value, not $100. Deposit match bonuses usually come with rollover requirements, meaning you have to bet the bonus amount multiple times over before you can withdraw a cent of it. And every one of those required bets is happening on a market with the house's 4 to 5% toll built in. So the free money is actually bait to get you doing dozens of additional wagers, each one quietly bleeding value until the promo has effectively paid for itself many times over in additional betting volume. This is the same instinct that makes free drinks work in a casino. The free thing isn't the business, it's the recruitment tool for the business. Let's talk about in-game or live betting, because this is the newest and fastest growing slice of that $14 billion, and it deserves its own explanation. Live betting lets you wager on what happens in the next 5 minutes of a game. Will this drive end in a touchdown? Will the next batter get a hit? Will there be a three-pointer in the next possession? The odds update by the second based on an algorithm. Here's the part that matters. The faster the odds move and the more decisions you're asked to make, the more total bets you place per game, and every single one of those bets carries that same baked-in toll. A bettor who used to make one wager before a football game now might make 15 or 20 micro wagers throughout it. If each one skims a few percent, the sportsbook isn't collecting one toll from you anymore. It's collecting 15 or 20. Volume is the whole game. This is also why sportsbook apps are engineered like slot machines and social media feeds combined. Push notifications, countdown timers, cash out buttons that light up green, because every additional tap is another pass through the toll booth. Now, let's zoom out to the $14 billion itself, because the number only makes sense once you understand where it's sourced. It's not $14 billion taken from a small number of high rollers. It's $14 billion aggregated from tens of millions of ordinary people making small, frequent, seemingly reasonable bets, $20 here, $50 there, a same-game parlay during Monday Night Football, because it made the game more fun to watch with friends. Public data from state gaming commissions, which legally have to report handle and revenue since sports betting was federally legalized across most states following the 2018 repeal of the federal ban, shows the pattern clearly. Total money wagered nationally has climbed past $120 billion a year, and the hold, the percentage the books keep, has been trending upward, not downward, as parlays and live betting eat a bigger share of total volume. In some states, sportsbooks are now holding close to 9 or 10% of everything wagered, more than double that basic coin flip math we started with. That upward drift isn't an accident. It's the direct, measurable result of shifting bettors toward higher margin products. So who is actually losing this $14 billion? Overwhelmingly, it's not one unlucky group getting wiped out in a single bad weekend, it's the long-run structural result of millions of people playing a game where the expected value is negative every single time they place a wager, even when they win in the short term. That's the part that trips people up, because you can absolutely have a great month. You can hit a same-game parlay and double your money on a Sunday. Individual outcomes are genuinely random and genuinely winnable. The coin does land on heads sometimes. But expected value isn't about any one bet. It's about what happens on average if you repeat the same action thousands of times. And thousands of times is exactly what an industry-wide, tens of millions of users dataset represents. Zoom out far enough, and the 4 to 20% toll on every wager does what tolls always do over a long enough road. It collects. Now, the honest caveat, because this channel isn't in the business of scaring anyone, it's in the business of showing you the arithmetic. This math does not describe every single person who's ever placed a bet. There is a razor-thin population of professional or sharp bettors, often estimated at well under 1% of all accounts, who consistently beat the market, usually by exploiting pricing errors within seconds of a line being posted, using models and betting at volumes and speeds an average person simply can't replicate. Sportsbooks know exactly who these bettors are, by the way. Accounts that consistently win against the closing line get limited, reduced, or banned outright, because a sportsbook's whole model depends on the average customer's bets being unpredictable enough to balance the book profitably. If you're wagering $20 for entertainment during a game with friends, this math describes your long-run experience whether you realize it or not. If you're one of the rare quantitative bettors treating this like a full-time trading operation with real bankroll management, the math is different, but that's a tiny, tiny sliver of the $14 billion in play, and even most people who think they're in that category aren't. There's one more piece of this that rarely gets talked about, and it's worth sitting with for a second: the cash out button. Sportsbooks love to let you lock in a guaranteed smaller win or a guaranteed smaller loss before a game or bet finishes. It's marketed as smart risk management, giving you control. Mathematically, the cash-out price offered is almost always worse for you than the true expected value of letting the bet play out, because the sportsbook is pricing that offer, and they're not in the business of offering you a better deal than the one you already agreed to. It's another small toll, dressed up as a convenience feature, collected at the exact moment you're feeling anxious about a live game, and most likely to take a worse deal just for certainty. Put all of these pieces together and the $14 billion stops looking mysterious. 4 to 5% skimmed off straight bets through the VIG, 10 to 20% or more skimmed off parlays through mispriced combined odds. Promotional offers engineered to generate additional low margin for you betting volume before any real value can be withdrawn. Live betting multiplying the number of tolls collected per game from 1 to a dozen or more, and cash out features monetizing your anxiety in real time. None of these individually needs to be dramatic. A 4% toll doesn't feel like anything on a $20 bet. But multiply that by $120 billion of national handle a year, and you get $14 billion of guaranteed corporate profit, funded almost entirely by the belief that this particular Sunday, this particular parlay, this particular team is going to be the exception. Here's the honest, unpanicked way to think about it, because that's what this channel is actually for. Sports betting, viewed clearly, isn't really a bet on the Eagles or the Lakers or the Yankees. It's a recurring subscription fee for the entertainment of watching a game with something at stake, priced at somewhere between 4 and 20% of whatever you wager, collected automatically every single time, win or lose. Some people get real entertainment value out of that fee and know exactly what they're paying for. That's a legitimate, informed choice, same as paying for a cable sports package or a stadium ticket. The problem is when the marketing convinces people it's an investment with positive expected value, or a skill they can develop their way out of the math with, because for the overwhelming majority of bettors, no amount of research changes the fact that the toll booth is built into the road itself. That's the real math behind the $14 billion year. Not bad luck, not rigged games, just a system engineered so patiently and so quietly that it wins by definition before a single whistle blows. If this kind of hidden math breakdown is the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe to the channel, because we're doing this same forensic breakdown on casinos, airlines, insurance, and half a dozen other everyday systems that are quietly built the exact same way. Hit like if this changed how you'll look at your betting app the next time you open it, and we'll see you in the next one.